Clap
Oh
sync.
yeah, I didn't do a clap sync last time.
Clap
Oh
sync.
yeah, I didn't do a clap sync last time. All right, Jess, read us a question.
Right. Does gear or kit equipment really matter? For example, can I just film everything on an iPhone?
It depends in which context, I would say.
Elaborate.
So if a client comes to you and says, we've got, I don't know, X amount of money, let's say it's $3,000 to spend on this video. Mm-hmm. You go and shoot the thing, you spend all your time on with these lovely cameras that we've got here, 4K sensors, all that kind of stuff. We come away, we go into the edit, I don't know, let's say hypothetically, we've missed one shot. And they say, oh, we can just get that with an iPhone. Would that do? I would personally say no.
Yeah. But that's
Do it to
because
be
you're
inserted
talking about you're matching stuff, right?
But to like elaborate probably even more, if an unskilled person takes their phone and goes, oh yeah, I can do that as well.
Yeah, sure.
Compared to us experienced industry professionals with proper cinema cameras.
Yep.
I would say it does matter.
Well, I would say you're talking about camera there specifically.
Yeah.
Because I would say, I reckon if you gave me a new iPhone, or hell, if you gave me an iPhone for even a few years ago, but I had access to all the lights that I wanted, all the gels, all the modifiers, I could like choose everything else. I could put if I could modify the iPhone as much as I wanted to, so I could put it on a gimbal, or I could put it on a slider or a dolly, or, so you get some really nice moves. And even more so if I could put a lens modifier on the front of it, I think I could make it look amazing. And that's still using gear, but what you were talking about was a phone. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So I think your point was about like a camera specifically.
Yeah.
And I do think, obviously, like I think side by side, like our cameras are there's so much more dynamic range in it. You've got so much more flexibility with it.
Yeah.
And just from an operating point of view, like you've got to do a lot to iPhone footage or mobile phone footage to kind of get it to do what you want it to. And with ours, like, like just having like NDs and professional sound inputs and like all these things, which I guess is all gear, but like they make a massive difference. So I think there's two things here, isn't there? Is like, does gear matter or does the camera matter?
Well, yeah, this question is like, if we're focusing on like the details, so like, you can get an iPhone 15 now that does like Apple ProRes, right?
Yeah,
so it's essentially like log footage.
Yeah.
But you put it in the hands of someone who isn't a video person.
Yeah, sure.
Isn't a trained professional.
Sure, right.
So basically, the origin of this question has come from like, when people say, oh, we don't need to hire a production company because like we've all got smartphones and we can just do this team video ourselves in-house.
Well, we've had teams say, well, tell us what kit to buy and then we can do stuff in-house. And it's like...
And it still looks crap.
Yeah, because it's like, it's like if somebody comes up to you and says, you must get this all the time, I do, take a nice photo or like do a cool video and they go, oh, wow, that photo looks amazing. Your phone's so great. And I'll be like, yeah. No offense, Dad, if you're watching, but like, if I give it to my dad, it's not going to look fucking great.
No.
It's going to look like my dad took it.
Yeah.
So it is the 15 years worth of experience.
That's what I mean.
How to frame something and how to move with it, and also it needs to serve the story at the end of the day. And I think these are all things that you learn over literally decades of making films. And there's one thing of like setting up a shot and making it look awesome, even if you're not a professional. What's it called? A broken clock's right twice a day, right? So like you can kind of fluke into shooting something quite nice, but a professional isn't going to be able to craft an entire story or video with all the elements that we have to think about. And that's not knocking people who've not done this job before. They haven't done this job before. I
have just realized, like within 2 sentences, I've kind of contradicted my own point. So that's helpful.
Oh, good, right?
I think it matters, but it just matters in terms of what context you're using it. If you've got an iPhone or smartphone, whatever, and you're not in like working in the industry, Like, I guess it doesn't matter because they are the specs on them now are capable of producing high quality
definitely
video. It just would be better if it was in the hands of a trained professional.
Yeah, sure. But just to contradict myself again.
Yeah, so it's like a walking contradiction, this part. Like
I care a lot less about kit now than I did when I first started. But I think when I first started, I was like you. I was a bit of a jack of all trades, and I did I shot, I edited, I did everything. So I was way more hands-on with kit. So I got a bit more obsessive about it. Whereas now, like if it does the job, it's good enough. And I'm not so obsessed with, like, when cameras and new kit and new lights get announced now, I care way less than I did before. I think I care more about like the storytelling element of it and you know, just working with a client to work out what they want out of this project rather than what's going to get me excited kit wise. Like, it doesn't really bother me anymore. I
care less now, but only because the specs of cameras don't change that much.
Yeah, sure.
So it's been a few years where they've all got friggin', I don't know, 6K sensors, and they all can shoot 120 and 4K frame rate, and all that kind of stuff.
Frame rate used to be the thing that I was obsessive with because I loved doing food and drink stuff, and just everything looked better in slow-mo. So when it was, you know, when we had my previous camera, the FS700, I was obsessed with that because it shot like 4K, 200 frames per second and stuff. So that was the last time I got really obsessed with a camera.
But do you see what I'm saying now? Because like all, like, let's say we shoot on Sony's, but Canon do exactly the same thing. They'll release a new camera, but it's not that much different to the one previous.
Yeah.
So
what was the last piece of gear or kit that whether it was with COOLBOX or before you were working here, like what was the last thing that kind of either got announced or you got your hands on, you were like, this is awesome, this is pretty cool?
Well, to be honest, not cameras anymore. It used to be.
Yeah.
When we got the FX3.
Yeah.
Was pretty cool.
Yeah. Because it was just a small FX9.
Basically, yeah. But all the stuff that Aperture do now, like lighting wise, I think that is because it's such good quality, but it's relatively affordable, right?
I think when we rented was it the 1200D that we rented?
I think
we
600s, yeah.
They're incredible. Like, I think getting my hands on them, I was like, because we've got the like 120s, 300s, and they're really good, but like, I don't know, it's just the amount of light that it was kicking out, and it was relatively small and didn't really make much of a noise. And I was just like, wow. The build quality of it as well is amazing.
I mean, I'm more like, I think in terms of, if we're talking about equipment that does get us excited now, it does tend to be lighting or lighting modifiers.
Yeah, same.
So like the stuff that the Amaran stuff that James was using on the recent
G4S
Creed shoots.
Oh right, yeah.
He used them on both.
Yeah.
They're just like LED mats.
Right.
With like an egg crate round them.
Yeah.
Like Velcro and egg crate round them. But they're just mats.
Yeah.
So they don't like kind of footprint wise.
Yeah, sure. You can hide them anywhere.
Amount of space, but again, output wise, they do all like their RGB, all that kind of stuff.
So yours is probably lighting that gets you
I
more
would say
excited.
so now. It didn't used to be.
Yeah.
But again, like I think that's just because of the development of technology anyway.
Yeah, sure. Whereas I guess that's it.
Anymore.
Like cameras don't seem to be making huge leaps like they did between, like, you know, when the release of like the 5D and even like the FS7 and things like that. Like they were big steps, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about everything that you take for granted now in a camera, even going back 3 years, it wasn't in there.
Yeah, sure.
So most cameras, if you release a mirrorless camera now, or like a cinema camera that's in the body of a mirrorless camera, if it doesn't have a log shooting mode,
sure,
you're surprised.
Yeah,
like it's kind of taken for granted now.
Image stabilization and things like that. It's like the autofocus is like, you know, I was a bit of a latecomer to it, and I was like, no, because I prided myself on being able to rack focus well. Being able like a DSLR shooter, and now I'm just like, why was I fighting against it?
Well, it's just because it's so good.
It's incredible.
Now, right?
So now if you got a camera that didn't have it, I'd be like,
what? We'll put it this way: we've got 3 cameras on, and none of them are being manned.
Yeah, exactly. But I think so. It seems like yours is the thing that has excited you about kit over the last few years is probably lighting. Whereas I'm trying to think of the last thing I got my hands on. I was like, oh, this is a bit of a game changer, and I think it was the handheld gimbals.
Yeah,
because I think before, like we were using like Movies, Ronin 2s. They were massive. Offered like the early Ronins, you couldn't put them down.
Yeah.
They had to bring a stand with them. That was a pain in the arse. And they just weighed a ton and they hurt your back. And everybody's got a bad back who's a camera operator. And I just think as soon as they started bringing out the handheld gimbals, I was just like, I couldn't believe how much weight they could take and how versatile they were. And they packed down so small into a tiny case. Like, I think that was the last time I got really excited about because again, like most of my stuff before was very like static. It was kind of studio based. We're doing food and drink stuff.
Sure,
and then, so I lent away from doing anything that was really dynamic and moving around. And it was anything I did was like handheld or on the shoulder. And I think because I was reluctant to buy a big gimbal and invest in that big thing. But then they came out with this handheld thing and it was like less than $1,000. And I was like, well, that's it. That's my sort of stepping stone into like using a gimbal, basically.
Yeah. I mean, side note, I hate them. Gimbal. No, like not that style.
Yeah,
I just don't like gimbals. Like
I know. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm the same. I feel like I know the FX3 and 9 so well. Like I feel like I know where all the buttons are. It feels very intuitive. Like I can instantly just rack focus on something and I know my way around it. Gimbals, I don't.
No.
I feel like I'm always fighting it.
Yeah.
And I know quite a few people that used to shoot on glide cams. Did you ever use one of those?
No.
So they use like counter. There's nothing electronic about them. They just have a counterweight at the bottom.
Got you. Yeah.
And the people who are really good at it. Do you remember that Devon Supertramp guy? Did you ever used to follow him?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I might do. The name don't ring a bell.
Link here, pictures here. I don't know. But he was like, he's got like a
cool
branded. I think it's a nickname. It's Devon
right.
some Supertramp. Anyway, he got like a branded one. There was like a Supertramp glide cam kind of thing. So you put the camera here, and then it's got a counterweight here. So like, it doesn't have any electronics in it. It's
right.
Just
okay.
It's really good. So it's quite hard to move up and down. But like in terms of getting those big sweeping, I'm nowhere near the mic. I'm like over there. These big sweeping movements, and like the guys who are really good at it. When I used to speak to them, they were just like, it just feels like an extension of my body now. Like you get used to like where it all is,
right,
and it like behaves in a certain way when you've got it balanced right.
But I guess if it's not mechanical in any way,
it's not fighting against you. Whereas like you've got with a gimbal, you've got like minimum 3 motors that are, if they're not set exactly right.
How many times have you done it where like, I don't know, something might go wrong? Are you trying to do a move and it does that thing where it like freaks out?
Yeah,
and it just goes,
yeah.
And,
like,
spins
and
around
it's
and
upside
down and it's
That's
facing you. You end up doing a POV of yourself with
that's
double chins. Like,
I'm sure if you're like, the thing is, neither of us are camera operators, are we really? So I think if you're doing camera operating all the time, maybe that's something that you.
I mean, I would be interested in like the camera ops that we use, what their thoughts are specifically on gimbals. I know we've gone way away from the original question, but I could do 10 minutes on just on gimbals because
of how much you hate them.
Genuinely, right? Because like the results you get out of them, they're cool. Like it's fine. I mean, I think it's overused, and some people overuse them more than others. But like picking it up, I kind of run out of ideas. It kind of go right. Well, I can do. I just want to put it down again. Basically,
yeah, sure. It's definitely not my the first tool, like filmmaking tool that I would go for.
It's one of those, it's like, you know, if you put things in front of the camera that is either meant to speed you up or make you a better operator or achieve things that you can't do otherwise. Yeah. Or there's always things that do the opposite, slows you down.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think from a person that this isn't a general gimbal thing, because there'll be people who are. But
for you really personally, it's not something that makes your job easier.
I'll go right, especially if you're in front of a client. Like I don't feel slick enough with it. Sure. Let's get this out all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas I can pick up a camera, I can be handheld.
Sure. Well, I'm the same.
Do all the other things and like not even think about it.
I just think it's enabled us to do things that we couldn't do before. That getting those kind of big sweeping shots. Like you can get a big wide, fine. But giving it some movement as well, so you get, you know, they work really well when you're sort of passing through things or along things or doing like. I mean, I suppose like my go-to move is like the little move to the side, like little reveal from behind things. But you can like take that to.
You can exaggerate it.
You can exaggerate it by, you know. So I do think it, you know, and just. You know, orbiting things is a really cool. It looks really cool. It just gives you quite a unique point of view that I think you don't get in any other way. But I agree. I'm
not anti-gimbal. I'm just anti-me with a gimbal.
yeah, sure, that's fair. Okay.
I lost my straw.